Welcome back to the Grand Slam channel. Week 18 of the NFL season is upon us. The season went too quick. We got a lot of stake for this final week. Recap of the two Saturday games. With the exception of Derrick Henry, everything pretty much swept for NFL. NBA, we broke even. Our day one of the ladder challenge did not hit. But overall, pretty decent day. We did break even at NBA, but NFL we did sweep with the exception of Henry. So we did a quick double up for NFL. Lots of it at stake for the final week of the season. We got division titles up for grabs. We got playoff seedings up for grabs. We got a couple final two playoff spots up for grabs as well. And of course, those incentives for some of these players. Most of these players are on the popular tab due to the incentives that they need to accomplish in order to get those incentives. I do have a couple of them. I did post on Twitter and Instagram and on TikTok for those top 10 players with incentives up for grabs. There's about 25 players who have incentives into the final week, but I narrow it down to the final 10. Those 10, half of those players have important games. But let's get started. First one I'm going to be targeting is going to be Jaden Daniels. And for him, everything is in play. Probably my favorite prop on the board. Definitely going to have max exposure on Jaden Daniels. Washington's playing for a better seed. If they win, they get a better seeding. Last time he played against the Dallas Cowboys, he dominated. So Jaden Daniels, passing yards, passing touchdowns, fantasy scores definitely in play, which I'm going to take. His pass and rushing yards combined at 268 is also in play. But for this slip, you can pretty much take anything. Passing yards and fantasy score will be my top two. Next one I'll be taking is Baker Mayfield. And for him, I'm pretty sure he is a popular play. Passing yards is in play, and fantasy score are the best two options for him. I believe his passing yards is. Do they even have a regular? I don't think they have a regular line yet for his passing yards. Most likely that's going to get bumped. But his passing yards last time I saw it was at 248, 249. But I will be taking his fantasy score. That is my second option for him. Buccaneers are also playing for better seeding. If they do win, they're locked in the number 3 slot. A matchup is there for him to go off going against the Saints. If you're taking money line, I do have the Buccaneers winning and locking down that 3rd seed. And it starts with Baker Mayfield, and you can run it back with Mike Evans. He's one of those incentive players. Mike Evans is going to be a popular one. Fantasy score is a little bit juiced at 21, but obviously he has a ceiling of 40. Obviously the matchup is there as well. Baker Mayfield needs to throw. I believe he needs to throw at least over 200 yards to cash one of his incentives. Mike Evans is definitely going to be in play. Fantasy score, receiving yards, last time I saw it was at 100. Never seen it this high for him, but he needs over, I believe, 85 yards or 82 yards to cash one of those incentives. You also need a touchdown or two to cash another incentive. So Mike Evans is definitely in play. Most likely for Mike Evans, I'm going to be taking one of his gobbies for his receiving yards. Most likely that 69 or that 79.5. But Mike Evans is definitely in play. Next one I'll be taking is Tyreek Hill. Receiving yards and fantasy score are my top two options. I'm going to be taking his fantasy score. I believe he needs 61 yards to get to 1,000 for the season. Miami needs to win this game. The matchup is there against the Jets. So Tyreek Hill will definitely be in play. I think he's going to go over that 61 yards he needs. So fantasy score and receiving yards are the top two for him. You got to have Tyreek in there. If you can do a two-man, you can do a two-man with Jaden Daniels and Tyreek Hill. Those are two good options. Fourth one I like is Tony Pollard. He has one of those incentives, but unfortunately nothing is in play right now. You can check on other platforms. You can take his rushing yards is definitely in play, or his fantasy score, but once they post those price picks, you can definitely tell there. Next one is Brian Thomas. He's the only bright spot for Jacksonville. For Brian Thomas, I think he's going to have close the season on a bang. For Tam, most likely going to be taking his Gabi at 69.5, but his regular line at 81.5 is decent. Fantasy score can also be in play, but he's the only bright spot for Jacksonville. I know they lost Trevor Lawrence mid-season, but Brian Thomas had a heck of a season. So definitely include one of his gobbies in there. Next one is Geno Smith, and he's probably one of those players who has the most incentives on hand. I believe he has touchdown passes, passing yards, and rushing yards. For incentives for him, you can take his passing yards at 240, little inflated for him. Most likely, actually, definitely going to be taking his Gobby at 199.5. I believe he needs 185 passing yards to get one of those incentives. So at 199, definitely going to clear the 200 mark, especially in this game against the Rams. The Rams are probably going to rest some of their starters. They already clinched a playoff spot. Seattle's already eliminated. So I think they're going to go after those incentives. Geno Smith is going to be one of them. I think he'll throw over 200 yards. Fantasy score can also be in play, but Geno Smith passing yards is probably my favorite. Next one is J.K. Dobbins you can include, but unfortunately none of his props are posted yet. You can probably check on other platforms, but Dobbins is one of those players that are incentives. Plus, the Chargers need to win for a better seeding as well. If they do win, they clinch the number 5 seed. And I think J.K. Dobbins should have a good game. So I'll target him once those props are posted on PrizePicks. But shop around. There's underdog, parlay play, sleeper, chalkboard, DraftKings pick 6. There's so many other options. I'm pretty sure the props are already posted there. I believe Sleeper has most of them already. So you can check them out. J.K. Dobbins is one of them. Tony Pollard, you can check on him. Aaron Rodgers actually needs one touchdown pass to get 500 for his career. Not sure if he's going to be playing all game, but he's definitely going to get that one touchdown. So if it's passing touchdowns, you can take his Gavi at 0.5. He needs that one to get 500 for his career. I think he'll get it against Miami. I mean, he had one last time he played them. I think he'll get the one and probably sit out the rest of the game. Honestly, I think Miami's going to win this game. They need the win to stay in the hunt for the playoffs. Obviously, the Bengals already took care of business today, so the Dolphins need to win. Same thing with the Broncos, which brings me to my next pick, and that's going to be Bo Nix. Bo Nix, everything's in play. Honestly, I like his passing yards and fantasy score are my top 2 options for him. Most likely to go with this passing yards. Very simple. If Denver wins, they're in the playoffs. They lock in that final spot. So I think Denver, Bo Nix is definitely going to be in play, and you got to target Courtland Sutton. He's one of those players who needs an incentive. As you can see, 163,000 people are on his receiving yards. I believe he needs a little over 80 yards or 75 yards to cash one of those incentives or to get that 1,000 for the season. So Sutton and Bo Nix, you got to have them on your slip. But I do want to mention about Aaron Rodgers 500. Plenty of options to pick from. Suggest you separate into 2 to 3 mans. Best option is to do 5 mans. I don't really do 6 mans. I just give you 6 props. You can break them down. I don't suggest you follow them on a 6 man. I mean, you can with these 3 gobbies and 3 regular props. Make sure you guys flex it. We'll break them down to 2 and 3 mans. Build your bankroll. A lot of good games. At least half of these games have some type of meaning into the final season, divisions, seedings, and playoffs. Spots are up for grabs. So mix and match, pick your favorite. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Appreciate the support. If you're interested in the Discord, the link is in the description below. I'm already posting some slips overnight, especially a couple Gobby slips and my favorite 2-man as well. Other than that, enjoy your Sunday. Have a great day and see you guys in the next one.